welcome to the Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan. I'm joined with my co-host, Drew Martin, and the coach, also known as my big bro, Joel. How are you guys doing?
Drew, you go first, man. I always go first.
I don't think that's true, but I'll go first. I'm doing good. Hit a indoor driving range today. Have a hockey tournament this weekend. Finally back allowed in places, so it's great. I'm flying high.
Coach, how about you?
I'm glad we're coming up on the weekend. Let me tell you, it has been a couple of weeks. So I think we're going to go see a Raps game this weekend. Excited for that. And hopefully get a W. How about you?
I'm doing well as well. And for all you listeners out there, my name's Dan. I am a reverend pastor in downtown Toronto. Drew is also a reverend, a pastor in Selkirk. And the coach is our analytics specialist, also an actual coach who's coached myself, Andrew, and many others that we know, and is going to be coaching a team in the future as well that I will tell you about later on. But that's who we are. We're excited for a fun show today. Coach, why don't you give us a rundown of what's going on in our show today?
We have another jam-packed show, lots of stuff going on. We're going to talk a bit about the MLB Strike. Thoughts are on there. Different topics from NBA. Lakers. Obviously a big thing to talk about. DeRozan, who knew? Also Charles Oakley, our wonderful friend out there. And then we're also going to talk about Lia Thomas and that whole situation and transgender in sports. Let's head to our first sponsor of the day. It's going to be me, looking at Train to Invest, www.train2invest.com. If you're looking for something to do post-retirement, if you're looking to generate another source of income, check us out. Free ebook, give us a download, and lots of places to ask questions and learn about how you can secure your financial freedom. Before I turn it back to Dan, make sure you like, subscribe, check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Sports Reverends, we got all over the place, and we love to interact with you guys.
All right. Where are we starting today, boys? We're starting in the MLB Strike. After 8 days of negotiation, there's still no resolution. So, boys, tell me what you think. Tell me what your initial feelings are. I just know the very base of this storyline. I'm mostly just saddened that some baseball's already been canceled. The first two series, I believe, of the season have been canceled, which is a sad thing. But I'll let you guys take it away.
Yeah, it's sad because MLB just always seems to forget that anytime there's a labor dispute, baseball suffers. People stop watching baseball and they don't come back. People that remember the 94 strike, like, baseball hasn't even recovered from that strike yet. So I agree with the players on most of their disputes here. And I think the owners are being a bit greedy when it comes to, arbitration and revenue sharing. I just want baseball to start. It's really hurting the guys that are the lower on the totem pole guys. Like, the guys are making the minimum salaries are having to sit out, not even making that much money. So, I don't know how much longer this is going to go on.
Baseball, I think we talked about it last pod, has probably the best all-star game all around. But they have to have the dumbest collection of people running this entire show. Like, Drew, 94, killed baseball, and it really hasn't recovered. We're seeing lower numbers of people registering for baseball in the U.S. In Canada, it's already a small proportion anyway. We're seeing stars of the game not getting promoted. We've talked about this in the past. We're coming off of COVID. Things are starting to finally open up. And here baseball is canceling the first two series, just really throwing mud in people's faces because, hey, I'm not a huge baseball fan by any means, but it's fun to go to a game. It's fun to go to a game. It's interactive. Yes, it's 9 innings, but with a couple friends and a nice day, it's a great time. It's a great way to kill some time. And baseball is just saying, we don't care. The owners were super greedy in the last CBA, totally screwed the players out of a bunch of things. Players don't trust the ownership, and there's a huge divide in where we can go. We're talking about minimum salaries on the table, revenue sharing, and arbitration. All things that are very important to the players, which they lost out on the last strike. And you throw in COVID, how it's impacted revenues. Like, there's got to be some sort of middle ground here where we can say, hey, let's get back to playing. Let's not cancel any games, because the Players Association has come on and said, you may cancel games. We expect to get paid for all 162 of them. So money is a big factor, and it's just astounding to me, especially after how they redid everything in the minor leagues to cut a bunch of different leagues out of it and streamline things. You're just saying, no, thank you. You guys are done to your fans. So it's frustrating. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, besides the minor leagues, the major league players and obviously the owners and all the staff within the major leagues, when you look at all that kind of money, it's really hard to, relate as a fan. It's really hard to, feel bad for them, that even if we believe the players are getting cheated, or if you believe the vice versa, it's just no one really relates to that because it's just such a big amount of money. It just comes off as greed. At least it does to me. And sadly, I just got this beautiful Vladimir Guerrero jersey for Christmas, and I've been waiting for opening day to go. And one of the best parts of baseball is every stadium. If you didn't know this, every stadium you can actually bring your own food in. You can't bring drinks, but you can bring your own food in, and it's amazing to see people bring these elaborate meals in, or obviously they walk in with their street meat, and it's just a beautiful pastime that is just so fun. So I'm just sad that we have to miss out a little bit more and wait a little longer on it. So we'll see how long this takes. I think it's going to take some time, and there's going to be more stuff.
Well,
go ahead, Drew.
Whenever there's labor disputes, I always laugh at the people that talk about the players being selfish, because they don't factor in how many billions of dollars the owners are making. And it's like, that's what they're fighting. They're not really fighting like I want more money. I want a bigger share of what they're contributing to the owners making all their money. Like, what is the owner doing? Like, the players are the ones that are playing the game, and they're not really putting their life on the line in baseball, but we talk about this in football and how the players deserve a bigger piece of the pie than they're getting. And I for sure agree with the arbitration. That's been a big dispute for the last several years, of the 6 years, and owners and managers sort of bending the rules there to.
Drew, can you explain the arbitration a little bit for maybe the?
Yeah. In baseball, it's from the day that you start playing in the MLB, your clock starts going on these 6 years that the team has basically ownership over you. No one else can touch you. But the way they can, there's a certain date in the season where if they bring you up past that date, they get an extra year. Like, it doesn't count towards your first year of eligibility. So there's been teams leaving guys. Most recently, I remember Chris Bryant on the Cubs being one where he hit like 10 home runs in spring training, and they left him off the team to start the year because they wanted that extra year. So they basically got 7 years before they had to pay him. And in baseball, these guys aren't coming up till they're 22, 23, 24. So that's putting you into your 30s by the time you're actually ready to sign your first big contract. And by that time, you could be at the plateau of your career and teams don't want to pay you the big bucks. So it only works for those few guys like the Mike Trouts and the Bryce Harpers who come up at 18, 19 years old, where they actually get a contract in the prime, right at the beginning of the prime of their career. And so for all these average players, they might never see a contract that they might be deserving of in the prime of their career.
Right.
Absolutely. And if you look at spending in free agency, it's dropped over the last 3 to 4 years, year over year over year, because owners are saying, hey, I don't have to hand out 9-figure contracts all of a sudden. I don't have to give a guy $300 million. Like the Yankees, the epitome in the 90s and early 2000s of just spending like nobody's business, not worrying about the luxury tax. You're hearing teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, ooh, let's worry about the tax. Let's depress salaries and stuff. And that's a form of collusion. And the players are the ones who are stuck without a way to recoup any of that money, grow their own source of the pie, as Drew talked about. And so it's a unfair thing for the players. And at the end of the day, ultimately, no games, no fans, no money. So the labor shortage strike does not help anyone.
Guys, that's some high level analysis. Well done.
Well, in the game and baseball right now, with how many young guys, just look at the Blue Jays. Like this should be the most exciting baseball to watch as a Blue Jays fan and around the league. The game is getting so much younger. These guys deserve to get paid earlier, I think, because they're coming up so much earlier than they used to.
Blue Jay management is cringing right now, though. So, because
there's a lot of guys to pay.
A lot of guys to pay. Oh, you guys got anything else?
They still have 6 years. I'm done.
Got anything else to share, Coach, on that?
I vented enough about that.
All right. Well, why don't I pass it over to Drew to hear about our next sponsor?
Yeah, we're talking about One Bone always. I'm always wearing a One Bone. It's all the shirts I got are One Bones and golf shirts. I've even got my One Bone pants on. Check them out. They're awesome. They're for all body sizes, but especially for us big guys. They're great. They feel great. They'll be the comfiest clothes you ever put on. If you go to One Bone right now and use the promo code SportsRevs15, you'll get 15% off your first order. That's SportsRevs15. You will not regret it. Tell them that we sent you. It helps us, helps them, helps you look good. One Bone.
Go ahead, Coach. Take us away.
Yeah, so unlike a labor shortage, helping out One Bone helps us and helps you. So everybody wins there. Quick hitters here in the NBA. We won't spend a ton of time on this unless we somehow get into some deep discussion. But Lakers, LeBron James, it's just terrible. There's a downspin to the Lakers, and how does that impact his legacy? Who's going to get fired next? Is Vogel on the chopping block? Is the GM, Rob Pelinka, on the chopping block? Who's to blame? What's going on in Lakers Nation? Dan, you were pretty quiet the first round. I'll let you go this time.
Well, this is amazing. And a GM has actually stood up to LeBron James and has said, enough is enough. You've created a team of geriatrics, and we are losing. We are 7 games below 500, so we're not going to do anything you say anymore. And Rob Pelinka has just had enough. And it really is. This is LeBron James and his. We're not allowed to say posse, but his crew.
You just did.
Oh yeah. Oops. Me and Phil Jackson, we got canceled. LeBron James and his crew, they fought for Russell Westbrook, and like, what did they expect? Now, all the blame isn't to be on Russell Westbrook. Some is on Frank Vogel, some is on Anthony Davis. Not as much as on LeBron for his playing, because he's actually playing well. But this is what is expected, and LeBron, does this affect his legacy? Well, for other people, they'll say no. I just think it's just icing on the cake to show that MJ's number one, the greatest of all time. LeBron's more of a Wilt kind of guy or a Kareem kind of guy, more than a greatest of all time. That's what I'll say. So yes, I think it does affect his legacy, in my opinion. Does it make him the number one? I like a guarantee. What do you guys think?
True.
Yeah, I think Russell Westbrook is who they thought they like. He is who he has been his whole career.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else they were expecting him to be. A triple double guy that shoots a bunch of air balls from three. Like that's what he is. He thinks he's a great 3-point shooter. He is not. And Anthony Davis is an eternal Band-Aid.
Yep.
Anthony Davis should be the face of this team.
Yeah.
With his age and his talent, and I think that's where the downfall is. You're trusting in a guy that can't stay healthy, and that's not all his fault. But at some point, you got to look your team in the mirror and say, this isn't working. You can't trust a 37, 38-year-old to carry you.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be doing this much work.
Yeah, I think.
But it is self-inflicted too. Like, this is what he wanted.
I think a couple things. I'm not sure how much I blame Frank Vogel, because he has benched Russ in the fourth quarter to go with better lineups. He was the first one to say, this is not working. Let's put this away. Rob Pelinka obviously wanted LeBron to stay. So he said, okay, we'll get LeBron. But how much better would the Lakers be with Kuz, with Montrezl Harrell? Right? And even KCP, right? They'd be a better shooting team, a more versatile team, and it would probably a deeper team, and allow you to probably get another point guard who can, and even Caruso. They kept Caruso, right? Take some of the burden off of LeBron. Drew, you're absolutely correct. LeBron, while he is amazing and his longevity has been unparalleled, he shouldn't be the guy leading your team in everything, right? Drew also nailed the point. Westbrook is who he thought he is, and he doesn't know how badly he's playing. And it's an ego thing. He cannot recognize that he's a terrible shooter from anywhere on the court all of a sudden. Pretty much since Durant and Harden left, this guy cannot shoot anywhere. Sure, he can dunk and rebound and get layups and, hit a few threes and get hot once in a while. But he's a terrible shooter. Just as like that's typical stats on a bad team, and cannot ingratiate himself with arguably one of the best players of his generation to figure things out, right? You got Westbrook who can't shoot, LeBron who's old, Anthony Davis who's broken all the time, 100% correct. Imagine if he had half the muscle capacity of Dwight Howard. He'd be unstoppable. He'd be unstoppable. He'd be better than Giannis.
Whoa.
Hey, he's bigger, strong. If he was bigger and stronger, 100% better than Giannis, right? But he can't. So the Lakers are going to have a tough time making the play-in. He's going to have a tough time making the play-in, and I don't see them going past the first, maybe at best second round.
Yeah. Building off what you both said, if they didn't make that trade for Westbrook, okay, and LeBron wasn't a part of stopping their initial trade in the last trade deadline for Talen Horton-Tucker for Kyle Lowry, okay, they could have had this year all the guys you mentioned, like KCP, Kuz, Harrell, Lowry, and then they probably would have got DeRozan as well, because DeRozan was seriously considering the Lakers. Can you imagine DeRozan on the Lakers? Obviously, he wouldn't be having MVP season because there's just not enough points to go around, but his effectiveness would be just unbelievable. They'd be a championship team, 100%.
They'd be a lock.
So,
considering the Clippers are injured, the Nuggets are injured, Phoenix is now injured. Like they'd be steamrolling the West. Speaking about DeRozan, great segue. Who saw this coming? Who saw DeRozan putting up the numbers he's putting up in the way he's putting them up?
I was thinking.
Go
ahead, Drew.
That's for sure. Oh, not me at all. Like I've never been a huge DeRozan fan. He just seems to be a little too like mid-rangey for me. Like he has improved his 3-point game a lot over the years, but still he never really felt like a superstar. Like, and that's what he's proving to be now. And good on him. But I would have never predicted this, especially even on this team. Looking at those names, I wouldn't have picked DeRozan to be the guy.
Agreed. I'm right with you. He's always been on that bubble of just being under a superstar level, and he's definitely taken the next step. And you know what? You have to give the coach Billy Donovan a lot of credit here. Like, how many times has he's taken a player and really let them reach their potential? So, yeah, shout out Billy.
Gators.
Do you now trade Zach LaVine?
No.
Really?
I think them as a duo. I think Zach
I don't know.
LaVine makes up for not LeBron's, DeMar's 3-point shooting ineptitude.
But I think if you're Chicago, you gotta dangle LaVine because his contract's coming up. It's just we'll see what you can get.
Look at these 3-point percentages on the Bulls, though. Like that, those numbers are unreal. Like they've got 3 or 4 guys over 40% from 3.
Nasty.
And Caruso's one of them, right?
Yeah, and no, Caruso's 35.
Not bad.
LaVine's at 40. White, Ball.
Yeah. Lonzo Ball's become a
like that's ridiculous. Even DeRozan's at 36%.
Yeah.
Like Vucevic is their lowest guy at 30.
That's crazy.
Oh no, not
and
the
center. He's their center. And I brought that up just to bring up Vucevic. I think he's always been an underrated center in a league where centers are becoming extinct. I think he's a really good one. Like I think he's almost like Jokic light. Like he does a little bit of everything. He can sort of play that point center made up position. Like he distributes the ball really well, has a nice touch. And he's a big wide body and plays an all around game.
And he's pretty healthy. Like, I mean, he's probably hasn't missed that many games, I don't think, in his career.
Yeah, he's started 55 games this year.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, good pickup for sure. Chicago. Wow. We'll see. Phoenix, without CP3 for almost 6 to 8 weeks with some sort of thumb injury, hand injury. And they're challenging for the top of the West right now. Do you think they can keep it all the way through? And if his injury status enters into the first round of the playoffs, could Phoenix be a team that gets bumped?
I'm just looking up here the standings. We got Phoenix as number 1, and yeah, the Warriors are number 2. And the Warriors have lots of injuries themselves. Phoenix already has 7 games on them. Yeah, I would say Phoenix keeps it up. I think they're good enough to finish first place, and it becomes a matchup game in the playoffs. If they get the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs, I think without CP3, I think the Lakers probably take advantage of that. I think they need CP3. He's their engine. He's their motor. This is coming from my mouth, and anyone knows that I am a CP3 hater. So that's it. He's good enough to be. He's their engine. They need him. So they're done without him.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement there. Drew, any thoughts quickly on this one?
Yeah, it's always tough when you're missing. Like the starting point guard is one of the biggest positions in basketball. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I've followed him that closely, but Aaron Holiday is a good player. Like when I was following the Pacers, he put up some games when Brogdon was out. That's a sneaky pick. I don't know when they picked him up, but just looking at that route, I think Aaron Holiday, I don't know how long the Chris Paul injury is, but he can hold his own. Alfred Payton's been around the league a long time. He can ball. But yeah, they don't go anywhere if Chris Paul is out come playoff time.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the sense that they can make a deep run. with Booker having some sort of playoff experience and Ayton getting some playoff experience, I think you can run a lot of pick and roll in the playoffs there and slow things down. And Phoenix, can play at a slow pace. You bring up Aaron Holiday, great pickup, very underrated pickup for sure. It does. I think it does match up. It is important, but one of the biggest things that Chris Paul brings to the Phoenix Suns is taking care of the basketball, and turnovers is a big thing, and especially in the playoffs. Right, you need somebody to be that lead guard to calm everybody down and to reset things. And
he can get you a bucket here and there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think he's okay at that a little bit, right? So I don't think first round will be an issue. Second round, if let's say he comes back at the end of the first round, he'll be rusty for the second round. That could be where they get bounced, which would be a real shame. Yeah. How about Harden? What are you guys thinking about that? 3 games in, playing a bit of a powder puff teams, but how do they look?
Well, right now they look like the contending team in the East. Like they've played that good. Harden has fit like a glove. Embiid is still clearly the 1A and Harden's the 1B. Tyrese Maxey's definitely been elevated. This last game against the Knicks, I believe he had, I think, maybe 5 points in the first half, and Maxey in his post-game interview said, Harden asked me in halftime, are you going to come to play this half? And drops 21 in the second half. So Harden's kind of brought some leadership there and lifted and elevated him. So, this we kind of predicted that it's going to look good right from the beginning and probably all of this year. It's the following years of past the honeymoon phase of where we will see how this relationship goes between Harden and Embiid and Philadelphia, even where it takes us. But they right now, you have to give them props. 3 games in a row, 3 big dubs, looking good.
True.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but everywhere Harden goes, it always looks good at the beginning. Because fresh start, guys get he's a good player, and
yeah, it looked the same in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and in Houston, right? So yeah, I definitely think they need to get past this honeymoon phase, because as soon as there's a first argument, right? It's like a marriage, him and Embiid. So as soon as that first fight, it'll be interesting to see, who comes out on top.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think at this point, you look at the trade and you think, oh, maybe the Nets didn't quite win this. In the short term, it really feels like the Sixers got the biggest boost, but we haven't seen Ben Simmons. We haven't seen Durant play together. It'll be interesting. I think you guys make good points. But come playoff time, I think these two make a good matchup. Again, pick and rolls, right? Harden's a great distributor when he wants to be. The only problem is Philly doesn't have that much shooting going around. So,
or depth.
That could be an issue. All right, last basketball talk here. Charles Oakley, the ever well-spoken, and he loves Toronto apparently, but Charles Oakley said Giannis would be a bench player or be put on his back during Oakley's time. That he wouldn't stand a chance, wouldn't be an MVP, and would basically be a dunce. What are your thoughts? I'll go with Drew first.
Well, I think he's flat out wrong. I actually think he would be a better player back in Oakley's time, just based on guys with that much size were not that agile. And Giannis is strong. His body, it's a freak of nature. His body. It almost is like when Dwight Howard first came out, and it's sort of it's like the man versus boys kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Giannis, we all know he can't shoot. Doesn't matter. It didn't matter as much back then. Can't shoot. There weren't many threes being taken back then. So I think his game translates better to that game. That's just my opinion. I'm not the basketball experts. Neither are you guys, but go for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely no expert
Wow, so much shade. So much shade there.
because he knows I'm gonna disagree with him. But it's just like the classic old man take. Like Charles Oakley is a guy who couldn't make a bucket outside of the key, and is just known for being a bruiser. And obviously, if he was here, I wouldn't be saying this to his face because I'm afraid of him till this day. And but that's what he is. That's who he is. And it's just the biggest old man take. Giannis, I think, would be great in any era he plays in. I think Drew's right on that sense. I don't know if he would be better back then, just because I think back then you could, like, as a guy's going up for a dunk, you can clothesline him, and someone would just try to injure him or something like that. But maybe Giannis would adapt. Maybe Giannis likes that kind of contact. Who knows? But whatever it is, Giannis would be great in any generation and future generations because he's that magnificent of an athlete, and he's one of a kind that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you take Anthony Davis, you put him back there, he's dead.
Done.
There's no way. And, like, I get it. You want to put, like, Shaq on Giannis. The matchup wouldn't happen, but, like, center on center, like, of course, Shaq's going to dominate him down low. But Giannis would just pull him out.
Touch him up.
And just go to
Shaq's going to touch him
right?
up.
So
Comes in my paint.
I think it's. Are you done? It comes down to, again, old man take. I think Charles Oakley is still trying to push his book, so trying to get some more views onto his book. But yeah, it looks bad. It's just a bad look.
Yeah, he's starting to sound like Scottie Pippen a little bit.
Yeah, Scottie, I don't know, man.
He's gone off the rails.
Off the rails.
Where is Scotty right now? Where is Scotty?
I don't even want to know. All I know is that Jordan I think I saw a story. Jordan during the All-Star game went to Daytona instead of the NBA's 75th anniversary thing because he didn't want to. So, there's that. Good talk, boys. Daniel, who is our third sponsor?
Third sponsor is Urban Hope Mentorship Program, near and dear to my heart, as I always say, because it's an organization that I've been a part of creating. It's a mentorship program for kids and youth in downtown Toronto, in an urban neighborhood where we've given opportunities to help grow in life skills, help grow in mentorship skills, giving them opportunities to put their mentorship skills into action, and providing programs such as summer camps and weekly kids and youth programs, all for basically free. Our summer camps are extremely affordable. We only charge kids $10 for a whole week of summer camp, just so it's affordable for all the families. For our weekly programs, they're all free, and it's a safe place we provide for these kids and youth. And as we want to continue to grow our program, we need your help. If you're able to donate and sponsor us in any kind of way, please check out the sportsreverends.com/sponsors. You can see where all of our sponsors are, and you can also see a place where you can give and donate towards. And our coach, as I mentioned in our intro, is part of our coaching staff of a new basketball program that we're starting through Urban Hope, giving some of these students an opportunity to play that that basically couldn't afford it at the next level. And we're going to do it all for free for those students. All they're paying is volunteer hours, and I know the coach is also going to coach them up, not only on the court but for off the court, for the rest of their lives, the lessons they will learn. So that's that. Check it out, Urban Hope, and thanks for sponsoring us.
All right. Urban Hope, great opportunity there. Speaking about off the court life lessons, we have an interesting topic here right now. I titled this Lia Thomas, Trailblazer or Cheat, and I preface this by saying that it's a controversial topic all around. Lia Thomas is the transgender female who is suing for the women's Pitt team. Pittsburgh, I think it's Pittsburgh, right?
Penn State.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, Penn State. And Lia hasn't gone through any sort of surgery, but is basically, I'll call it how I see it, a dude swimming against girls. And this opens up a whole other set of doors because there's a lot of left-wing media who are saying she's a champion of transgender in sports. And I just wonder what kind of take you guys have.
Well, it just seems unfair when you just take a step back and look at the facts about, like, I forget what they said. He went from being not even ranked in the top whatever in men's swimming to being record holding number one, beating girls by laps in the pool. And I think this just opens a whole bunch of doors that if we're supposed to be in an era of championing women success, you're actually doing more to damage women's sports. Like, we have the whole thing going with the WNBA right now, whatever you think about that, whatever. But this sort of just destroys any women in sports, because they're not going to be able to compete if you allow guys to come in that couldn't succeed in men's sports, so they come into women's sports. It's just wrong, in my opinion, especially when you look at, the UFC had this issue back in it's a man beating up a woman and getting paid for it. Like, it's ridiculous on its face. It's ridiculous anytime I think about it. This has nothing to do with their freedom to do whatever they want, but this is I'm more about defending women's rights to have fair opportunities to compete with women. So that's my take.
And it's funny you say that, because there's not many quote unquote feminists fighting for that. They are also championing this this narrative. Sports Illustrated, ESPN have put out these articles and other posts about Lia Thomas, formerly known as William Thomas, defending herself and saying that this is opening up doors for different trans athletes and trans kids, and to basically be who they feel like they want to be. And like you guys said, it's we're not attacking their freedom to choose. If the people have their freedom to choose however they feel. I myself, I have feelings and things that I have freedom to choose in. I also have the choice to suppress some of those feelings as well. And from all of that, the problem is that if we base everything on feelings, and that's what everything seems to be going, is basing all of our beliefs and all this stuff on feelings. This is the crazy, just ridiculous stuff that's going to happen, where people get hurt, like you said, in UFC, where these meets, where these swim competitions are happening, where no one's actually cheering for Lia Thomas. She's winning the gold, winning the number one ribbon or medal, and everyone's waiting for the second place person to get there, get to the finish line, and then they start cheering. I don't know how many people actually go to these women's swim meet in college, but there should be some, right? And it's also the matter of the fact, and we can't be basing what we know is truth on and changing what is truth because of our feelings, and we are not allowed to say that today. So that's why we want to be able to say that here, and encourage others to say it and step up and say what the truth is.
Yeah, I think you hit a couple really important points, both of you, when we're talking about this. One is we're talking about facts, okay, not feelings. Like the last pod, I said I could be a dog. I could feel like I'm a dog who wants to marry a tree.
You said make love to a tree.
Make a love to a tree. All right. And now I'm saying marry it. I want to go further. Okay?
That's you gotta get married first.
Well, I mean, I'm a dog. Do those things kind of... Another story. And that's feelings, right? But the truth of the matter is, I am not a dog. I can't marry a tree, right? I can feel that way. In this world, I have a right to feel that way. And we're not trying to say you don't have the right to feel how you feel, but we're talking about facts. There's a biological male body and a biological female body, right? If you feel like you're not if you don't fit into that body, that's fine. Go explore yourself, figure things out. But there is no logical explanation that you can tell me that Lia Thomas, who hasn't gone through any gene therapy or surgery or anything like that to become a biological woman, can compete against other biological women and call that a win. Dave Chappelle has that little bit about if LeBron decided wants to be a woman and go play in the WNBA. In reality, it should just be the one NBA, and whoever can play can play. Technically, right? If we're talking about equality, there shouldn't be a separate league. Right?
Yeah.
And so this is just another attack on foundational values about people. They've already attacked and tried to destroy the nuclear family. And we can see when kids have two parents, they turn out, for the most part, healthier, more, I don't want to say better people, healthier people who are able to cope with things and be functioning members of society versus people who come from one-parent homes. And there's a whole bunch of different things that go into that, but that's what the data says. That's not what my feelings say. That's what the data says, right? When we had Samara living in the house with us, if we were to play basketball against her in the driveway, she didn't stand a chance. Now, if I put on a dress and then still go play basketball against Samara, does anything change? Nothing, right? The UFC example, great example. How can you call that a sport? And I think it's embarrassing that mainstream media is trying to push this narrative, right? Now, if somebody goes the whole rigmarole of becoming a different sex, sure, compete away, right? But if I can just literally put on a pair of basketball shorts, grow out my hair a little bit, and put a ponytail, and start trying out for University of Toronto women's basketball team, what does that say to anybody? Like, what does that say to the ethos of being men and the ethos of separate gender roles and all that kind of stuff that comes into the home and you as a person? What does that say to women, like you was talking about? You aren't good enough to do the things you are supposed to do, right? You can swim, your physical body can swim the laps in this time, but you have to compete against a guy and call that fair. Where are scholarship opportunities going to come? Where is other equality opportunities going to come? Are we going to have a trans Olympics? Or should there just be one Olympics for men and women and whoever feels they compete against each other? Right? It's so ridiculous that we even have to have this conversation. And the worst part is, you're right. You're allowed to feel this way, Daniel. You're allowed to feel this way, Drew. But we can't talk about this in a normal paradigm. We have to talk about it with our like-minded friends behind closed doors. I can't go to a person on the street and say, this is wrong because of X, Y, and Z. You'll be cancel culture, be immediately shut down, and there's no tolerance for being tolerant.
Well, and even on, I understand that there's been teammates of Lia Thomas that come out anonymously saying that they're against it because they know that if they give out their names, their livelihoods are destroyed. And the whole transgendered issue as a whole, like take sports out of it, is a whole different discussion for me. What I'm most frustrated about is I love sports and I love the competition of sports, and they're staining it because it's kind of like when my almost 7-year-old wants to play against the 3-year-old, right? And he gets all jacked up that he wins. I'm like, come on, like you're twice his size and you're twice his age. Like you shouldn't be that happy that you won. Like, so
I learned it from somewhere, Drew.
No, yeah,
Mel's off.
But like he stacks the deck he always when he plays video games, he plays on the easiest level because he wants to put up 100 points, right? I'm like, you're never gonna maybe that's a bad example, but
It's great. No, it makes sense.
It's what comes to my head about, the very foundation of sport and competition is you want to go up against the best, and you want it to be fair, and you want it to be, you come to blows with each other, but you know that the best man won, the best woman won, and they're, you want to give your opponent a fighting chance.
Yeah. This is what happens when everybody gets participation ribbons. Like, I remember, like, when I was doing high school track, you get, we would go to Knights of Columbus, and you get, like, the little 4th place participation ribbon. I never kept any of those. They just go straight in the garbage. I mean, I didn't have a ton of ribbons to begin with, but you get that participation ribbon, you're like, this means absolutely nothing, right? But we've built this up where everybody has to be included. Everybody has to be on the same level. There can't be anybody who's better than the other. Well, what's the point of playing sports then? Right? I never got why we can't keep score. I don't care if my, 7-year-old is playing a sport and they get destroyed by 30 points or 30 runs or whatever it is maybe. That's a life lesson right there. You think when you graduate from high school or university and you go to a job interview and you tank it, the interviewer is going to be like, oh, you know what? That's okay. You know what? I'll give you a job anyway. You seem like a nice guy. You seem like a nice person. No, they're going to boot you out the door and you got to try again. And if you don't learn from your mistakes, if you don't learn how it is to lose and lose appropriately and to learn from your losses, then you're in big trouble. We have such a huge culture of entitlement that, I know this. Other countries around the world are like, these guys are soft. These guys are soft. Mm-hmm. And, you can talk about, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. We can talk about ecology and representation of everything, this, that, and the other. Other countries don't care, right? Let's look at the Ukraine and Russia right now. The only reason why Putin's doing anything is because he knows President Biden isn't going to do anything but sanction them. You can toss all the sanctions you want at these rich Russians. They have money everywhere, right? China, flying planes over Taiwan. They know Biden isn't going to do anything, right? They know this. They see weakness. They smell blood in the water. They don't care. And this is what we're teaching our children. This is the culture we're bringing up is it's okay. We don't have to worry about winning and losing, and it'll be okay. And I know Drew's one who's got kids here, but I'm highly confident he doesn't let his kids win all the time.
Never.
Right?
Never.
Because once you start, like I remember playing basketball with our dad, he wouldn't let us win until I was physically able to beat him. He would block me over and over again and laugh about it because I couldn't do anything, right? He's a little softer on Daniel. That's why Daniel's a little softer. But I think we have to be, especially as Christians, we have to stand up for what we believe in, but stand up in the right way. And I think being tolerant and open to other people's opinions and being respectful and tactful is what we need to do, but also standing on truth is where we need to go. Last thoughts to you guys. Drew first.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point about you have to learn how to take losses and not let it crumble you. But on the other hand, you also have to learn how to win. And that's sort of what I'm going through with, my 7-year-old and the almost 5-year-old now. And you know what, Cooper, you gotta win fairly, and you gotta win with grace and shake your opponent's hand. And Chasen, if you lose, you gotta get back up. You try again. It's all a part of life, and if you don't learn how to do both well, you're not going to make it very far.
I love that. And we'll wrap up this way. One of our mantras at the Sports Reverends is to write your own headlines, search for truth, and we want to write our own headlines because the mainstream sports media, is writing headlines of their own that don't rely on fact or truth, and we want to encourage everyone to do that. That's what we're here to do. So yes, let's all do that. I want to continue this conversation a little bit next pod. I want to add in some of the athletes that we can look up to from our past compared to some of the athletes of today, why some of them are role models, and how, at least my personal opinion is that a lot of athletes today aren't role models that I can tell my future kids to look up to. We'll have that conversation next pod. But that's it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us, all those good things. 5 stars, drop them now. And thanks for tuning in. Peace out, world.
Peace.